Yeah, that would be restricted.
But like, it's like if I want to do a mobile business, the business will be based at my house. Trying to limit, or it's a little bit unclear. Like why? Like what's the point?
Why force you to get an office and
Well, if it's a mobile clinic and I'm
I don't think so.
driving people's houses, it would just be like where I keep my stuff, but it would be like legally at my house.
Yeah.
Now you're good. It's fine.
Bonjour tout le monde.
Yeah.
Seeing everybody.
Okay.
If I can get everybody to settle in, we'll start started at 6 o'clock. There was an opportunity for anybody to ask questions of our consultant. Can't hear me, eh? OK, je vois qu'il y a un petit peu plus loin. So, on va commencer la soirée. Ça commence par une présentation de notre consultant Planscape qui nous la direction puis de l'aide avec notre zoning bylaw. So we'll be starting with a presentation from Planscape, our consultants. And afterwards, there'll be an opportunity for Q&A. We have our municipal planner is here, notre planificateur municipal est ici pour répondre des questions si vous avez des questions. Puis, on va commencer la soirée alors. On va commencer avec Brian et son collègue Brianna. Right? All yours.
Well, thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for having us. The purpose of an open house for a zoning bylaw is to hear from you. Want to talk a bit louder?
Just move up if you want.
How's that? So thanks for having us. The purpose of tonight's event is to actually hear back from you. So I do have a presentation, but we're hoping to hear from you. After the Q&A, as we discussed, hopefully there'll be time that you can come up and talk to us if you'd like to. So I'm going to do a very high level briefing of the zoning bylaw update. Sorry, next slide. Just quickly, our project team. My name is Ryan Lloyd. I am a planner with Planscape. I've been involved from day one with the official plan and the zoning bylaw. For any of you, I see a few familiar faces from the official plan. Debbie Vandenacker is the managing planner on this. She's double booked today, so she's not with us, but we do have Brianne back here who is taking notes. So anything you say today, number one, it is recorded, but we're also marking it down. So we want to hear back from you. We are taking these down. So the purpose of the project, we are doing two things: the official plan update, which is getting close to finishing, and now we're starting with the zoning bylaw. So as much as we've been working on the zoning bylaw update, this is your first public sort of point in this plan. So there's going to be more opportunities to hear you and have input on this. The project of the zoning bylaw review and update to date, we started back in July and June. So myself, Sam, we started looking at it line by line, section by section. We worked on that last summer. We had a few delays with the official plan. We jumped back into this again in January. In January, we took some of our recommendations, Planning Advisory Committee. We got more feedback. And then we had a version 1 draft zoning bylaw change. So that's what you probably saw in March. That's what went to council. There was 2 special meetings of council where we got further direction. So right now we're sitting with a version 2 document that now we're looking for feedback. Sorry, next slide. So the purpose of tonight, again, I'm going to give you a quick overview of the changes to the zoning bylaw. And the most important 2 things are, we want to hear your comments. I've seen people drop things in the box over here. Okay, there's comment sheets. Some people brought in their own sheets. Please do so. We want to hear all of your concerns. And hopefully during the Q&A, if there are technical stuff that we can address, we'll answer those questions. When we get to the Q&A part of this, or at least landscapes side of it, we would really like to hear your concerns, how these proposed changes might impact you, and also it would be beneficial if you could provide us with maybe a solution. So all of those things would be great to hear tonight, or again, in a comment sheet. So what is a zoning bylaw? A zoning bylaw is a law, so it provides regulations that govern land use and development through requirements such as permitted uses, setbacks, and parking requirements. So this is a planning act tool that enables you to actually implement policies, not only of your official plan, but of the planning act and the provincial planning statement. So these are the key theme changes that have changed in this revised zoning bylaw. So one, we've addressed throughout the zoning bylaw, how they relate within the zoning bylaw or other municipal bylaws that you might have. We try to make sure we addressed all errors and any other housekeeping items. Second, we've amended regulations, provisions, definitions, generally for clarity, consistency, and readability. We've also aligned the new zoning bylaw with the new official plan policies. Again, they're running in conjunction. And lastly, we've implemented changes in provincial legislation and the new policy statement. So the provincial policy, or sorry, it's now called the provincial planning statement in 2024. Next slide. So for those of you who have not seen the draft version, this is how you can do it. You can go to the project website. You can find that on the municipality's website. You go scroll down to the zoning bylaw documents and then open version 2. So version 2 is where you can find all of the information. That is the proposed version at this point. There's also links in there that's where you can actually subscribe to get updates. You can also make comments through that as well. Next. Next I'm going to kind of take you through an overview of the entire zoning bylaw section by section, just to give you high level changes that are being proposed. So section 2 talks about the establishments of zones. So two main changes here. One, crown land zone is being deleted. So crown land is crown land. The municipality doesn't have any jurisdiction over that. Sort of an old way of doing things. A crown land zone was sort of a placeholder, but there is no regulations that you can put on that because again, it's managed by ministries. Two new zones are being proposed. One is a neighborhood commercial zone, so a C4 zone. This will allow for compatible commercial and institutional uses to be permitted within residential areas. So this is in alignment with new policies in the official plan. And a second new zone is a rural commercial zone. So this will be a C5 zone. And this will be specific to commercial uses in rural areas. Right now, I believe most of these permissions are done by a rural exception zone. This will just give you an actual zone to change it to. Section 3, definitions. There's actually 20 pages of definitions, so there's a lot of red line revisions here. We have added, deleted, or revised definitions for one, clarity, consistency. We have new definitions that have been put out in the new planning statement and your official plan. We've replaced some new terms because they've changed. Some definitions were missing and some definitions were in there, but not actually anywhere else in your zoning bylaw. So we've just recommended deleting them. Slide. So this is sort of the bulk of the changes in section 4, and these are general provisions that apply generally across all land uses. So it doesn't matter what your zone is, these generally apply. The big highlighted changes here are additional residential units. So this is a change from the government. We recommend changes to home-based businesses. And my understanding is most of you are here to talk about recreational vehicles, which is either the storage or the occupancy of travel trailers. So I'll go into those a little bit more in depth. Additional residential units in your current zoning bylaw, it's actually called additional dwelling units. There is the provincial planning statement does refer to it as a residential unit, so we change that. It means the same thing. Your current zoning bylaw, one accessory dwelling unit in any residential area or in rural areas or in the agricultural zones. So that's what you currently have based on the Planning Act change and the changes in the PPS. you're now required to have 2 ARUs or up to 2 ARUs in any urban residential area or agricultural lands. So these are pushed by the government. So the proposal in your zoning bylaw is to permit up to 2 ARUs in an R1, R2, R3, R4, RR, RU, or A1 zones. And the only residential zone that will remain at 1 is the shoreline residential. So there are specific policies if you go to that document in sections 4.11 all the way through 4.14. Next. So home-based business, this is sort of a new section. It's a combination of what currently is home industry and home occupation. So it's combining the two together. A lot of these provisions were duplicated. So now we're just combining the two. Most of the provisions or many of the provisions have been carried over. There are some new introduced permitted uses, and there have been some reduced setbacks for these uses. Next slide. So some of the other key changes, the home-based business shall be conducted within a residential dwelling unit or an accessory dwelling, or sorry, an accessory building. Right now, your zoning bylaw allows home occupation in the main residential unit and a home industry in your accessory buildings. So the idea is no longer does it matter where they are. It can be in your main dwelling or it could be an accessory building as well. A key change is now it's a maximum of 2 employees, one of whom must reside in the dwelling, may be employed on site, and other additional employees may be employed off site. So you can have 2 employees for your home-based business. And the last key change is a maximum of 3 clients may be permitted on site at one time, with the exception of home daycare. So the intention behind this is to try and control people in a residential area. Not having, multiple cars lining up and down the street. So if you're going to have a home-based business, that's fine, but it does need to be limited. At some point, it does become a full business or a full commercial business, and then that's when you would apply to rezone. Next, please. So we're getting into, I think, what many of you are here for tonight. So I'll try and go over the highlighted parts of this. So one, we do have a revised definition for what recreational vehicles are. So a recreational vehicle is any vehicle used for recreational purposes, including but not limited to camping trailers, boats, snowmobiles, and ATVs. The first key change is there are policies throughout the zoning bylaw that you have to go searching for them. The recommendation is to create a new section. So they're all going to be in one spot. And I believe it's section 4.26. So if you haven't seen that section and you're here specifically for that, write down 4.26 and look that up. So we've combined sections 4.22, prohibited uses and activities. There was a couple paragraphs there, as well as parking of boats and trailers in section 5.52. Those have been combined. So the first change is in terms of storage. Right now, there are in the R1 to R4 zones or in the shoreline residential zone, you can have, they specifically say you can have 1 boat trailer. You can have I think it's 1 ATV trailer, and you can have 1 utility trailer. So that's now been revised to you can have up to 3. So this is outside storage. This is not you have storage in your garage or in your shop. Not the same thing. And then location. So we've also revised that a bit too. Just clarifying the setback. So in a rural zone, your setback is going to be 3 meters from the side or rear lot lines. And if you are I take that back. Well, that's right. And 1.5 meters if you are in an R1 to R4 or a shoreline residential zone. Occupancy of recreational vehicles. So the key regulations here that are changing, trailers can now be occupied from April 15th to November 30th versus the policy right now is a maximum of 90 days per year. The second key change is any permanently situated trailer needs sanitary services in accordance with Ontario Building Code. So you need a septic system, an outhouse. On vacant lots, camping trailers must meet all of the required setbacks that would apply to a dwelling in the zone. So if you're going to situate your trailer as a permanent site, then you need to know what your zoning setbacks are. So if it's an 18-meter setback, if I were to build a new house, I need to have an 18-meter setback. So if you're going to put your trailer there, you also need an 18-meter setback. On lots with a dwelling, camping trailers must be located in the side or rear yard and at least 1.5 meters, so similar to above, from the R1 to R4 zones or the shoreline residential, and 3 meters for the rural zones. Section 5, parking and loading. Mostly formatting changes here. So the parking requirement table has been updated. It's a little bit more comprehensive. We've also made some changes to make some consistency with other municipal bylaws and requirements. And the only new thing is the addition of snow storage. So any new development, so any new commercial, industrial, or high density housing developments, you now need to provide area for snow storage. So I wasn't here in the middle of your winter, but it's with all the snow, putting all of those houses in one sort of small lot is kind of a bit of an issue when you're trying to move snow. Section 6 to 10. So these are your specific zone provisions. The main changes there are the regulations that you used to find in the actual the provision table. All of those special rules have been taken out and they now have their own section. Permitted uses have been revised to match the definition updates. So we haven't removed any permitted uses. They've just been changed to what the definitions now say. Across the board, we've removed accessory lot coverage. So right now, if you have a residential zone, you have total coverage provision. So it might be 15%, but then you have the second provision that would say you can only have up to, I think it's 5%. Don't know off the top of my head, but so that would say your sheds, your garages can only be up to 5%. That's been completely removed. And now it's just a total lot coverage. We've revised minimum lot sizes to reflect official plan policy and all of the zoning exceptions. So anyone who's ever done a rezoning, you get a zoning exception and it's put into the body of the bylaw. We've removed it and put it down to section 13. And the reason for that is it's about 20 pages. So instead of scrolling through it all the time, you just need to go to the bottom of the zoning bylaw to find those exceptions. Next. Agriculture related uses and on-farm diversified uses. This is new in section 9. Based on the provincial planning statement, there are two new definitions. One being agriculture related use, which shall mean farm related commercial and or farm related industrial uses. I won't read the whole thing, but I will explain the difference. On-farm diversified uses means uses that are secondary to the principal agricultural use. So I'll give you an example. This is real life. In my community, there is a sunflower farm. So the agricultural part of it, the agricultural use is growing the sunflowers. They grow the sunflowers to get bird seed. So that's the agriculture part of it. The agriculture related use is inside their shop. They bag them. They also have a small retail store. So that's all permitted as an ag-related use. The on-farm diversified uses, I don't know if you've ever been past a sunflower farm, but the amount of people that stop and take pictures. So people have capitalized on that. So now that's secondary to the use in a form of an agritourism use. So they're charging people to come in, take pictures. They set up the one that I'm thinking of. They have an elevated deck. So you can take a picture so it looks like you're floating on the sunflowers. They have, I think on Saturday mornings, they have yoga in the sunflower fields. So those are all on-farm diversified uses. The key provisions there are these uses will be limited to combined area of 1.0 hectares on-farm diversified uses because they can be on smaller rural properties up to 2% and 2% or up to 1 hectare. All of the buildings, outdoor storage, outdoor space, parking related to the use will be considered as part of that coverage. And it also sets out maximum floor area for those diversified uses in terms of retail. So those are the highlighted key main changes in the zoning bylaw. I will just sort of highlight the next steps. So right now is your opportunity to ask questions, comments. Hopefully, again, after the Q&A, you'll be able to come up and address specific things that you might have with your property or specific things in the zoning bylaw that you would like to discuss or offer suggestions. After tonight's meeting, we're asking that comments be back by about April 30th so that we, Planscape, can create an engagement summary that is going to go to staff and then to council. So this will go to council. After council looks at this, we will have another revision to the zoning bylaw. So there will be, so your version 2 that you can look at now, there will be suggested and recommended changes to that will go to council. After that, there will be a statutory public meeting. I believe we have it June 25th, but is that the June 23rd? So that will be on June 23rd, and anybody who has signed in and given us your contact information, you will all be notified of that. And just sorry, if you haven't signed in and you want to be notified of all of the following up to tonight's meeting, please do so before you leave. After the public meeting, meetings will also go to council of what we heard. And then if there are more revisions to be made, that will happen in July. And finally, the new adopted zoning bylaw will happen in August. So those are your next steps. Each one of these points is an opportunity for you guys to give feedback. Again, website, comment sheet, and tonight. So I'm going to turn this back to staff for the question and answer period of this. Again, there are a lot of you. I'm not sure if everyone wants to talk, but a good thing is if it's a repeated issue and you want to come up and talk to it, maybe the best solution is to add on to it. So again, we want to hear your concern, your question. We want to know how this might impact you. And most importantly, what's your suggested revision or what would you recommend that we take back to council? And then
Quick question.
Yeah.
We put get that with our email. We'll get all these
updates. Yep.
updates.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, I'll leave it at that and I'll turn it back to.
That's question.
Yep.
Will council be provided all the comments or a general idea of the comments?
If you would like to see them all, we can make sure that you have them in for the official plan. We did a summary of the comments, but that's something we can talk about with staff. If you want every single email sent to you. I should mention there are a number of council members here. I believe some are also watching online, so you are all being heard. Yes.
With respect to what it said here tonight and what's presented as the new revisions of bylaw and amendments. Now, you said that it'll eventually come to an end on August?
August is the scheduled adoption meeting for the new zoning bylaw. Not necessarily what is being presented now, but with revisions, yes.
Okay, my question is, then, if something else, can you add something else to this?
Yes, this is a draft. This is a draft.
No,
So
but I mean, can you add over and above what's presented here tonight?
yeah, so if there's something that we've missed that wasn't addressed as an issue, and it could be, section 4.1, and you want something revised, please write it down.
Any new revisions? Can any new revisions be
If you
brought?
have a suggestion, we can review it. Yes.
Not, what I mean is that
After August?
after, no, during the period up to August. Now,
Yes.
if the municipality wants to add more laws pertaining to trailers, will they be able to add this?
So what I will say is 20 days before the August date, that draft there is going to be presented, and that's what has to be decided on.
But prior to that, they can add more bylaws. Items to this.
Based on public feedback, if there are suggested revisions, we can revise it. Yeah, we're not.
But then again, there'll be public, you'd have to get a public input with
Yes.
that before that.
Yes.
Okay.
Sure, I'll turn that over to staff so that can rule the questions and answer. I'm going to be back here and I'm going to be taking comments down as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Ryan, and thanks for that great presentation. So as Ryan said, Landscape is here and has been available at the beginning here for any questions that you may have. What we'll do now is we will get into the Q&A portion of things. I will ask all of you, obviously, as the CAO, and my name is Mike Pilo, by the way, I didn't even introduce myself. But I will ask you, wish to come up here and speak, that you remain civil, that you remain professional remind you that this is being live streamed and is basically being monitored publicly. And again, that we will not be tolerating any sort of incivility towards staff or anybody. So I ask you to just kind of, police yourselves that way to keep your tone appropriate, comments appropriate. And as Ryan mentioned, if there is just a repetition of things, if you're, we're not going to prevent you from coming up to the podium and having your say. But if things have already been discussed, if you're looking to implement or to suggest new suggestions or solutions, the 3 items or anything in the bylaw, in particular, I think we're here mostly to talk about camping trailers. But either way, the discussion is open for the entire zoning bylaw, and we are certainly here to listen to you. We're not here to basically refute anything. This is your opportunity to really come in and say, what your thoughts are about the proposed revisions within the zoning bylaw. And that means anything that's in the zoning bylaw, including home-based businesses, C-cans, whatever, everything any permitted land uses. But again, we are here to answer any of those questions during or post presentations. So I'll ask you obviously to be respectful that way. And if we're seeing that things are getting out of hand, we may be in a position to ask people to leave. I don't want to do that, so I'll ask everybody to just kind of make sure that we're behaving appropriately. I appreciate that there's not a lot of space in here. There's a lot of people that want to have their say. So with that, est-ce que tout le monde a compris ça? Je peux en français un peu, mais s'il y a des questions en français, on est ici aussi pour traduire, pour vous aider avec votre message. Ça fait. OK. Merci.
Oh, I forgot. That's right.
Ça fait comment que le processus va marcher, c'est que si vous vous présentez en avant, vous disiez votre plein nom et votre adresse. So you'll have to, if you're coming up to the front, just state your name and your full address. I also did miss something. As you can see, there are a great number of council and the mayor is here in attendance. We also have Councillor Ferrand, who's on the line, monitoring. The only councillor that wasn't available was Councillor Gagne, who's just out of he's just previously engaged, but as you can see, the majority of staff and council and mayor are here to listen to your comments, including our consultants with Landscape. So who wants to step up? Monsieur.
Bonjour, mon nom est Rémi Ayotte. J'ai 11 Denis, River Valley. Ça fait 50 ans que je suis propriété là. Ma question est bien simple. À River Valley, on paye des taxes à la municipalité pour nos services de rue, nos services de chemin, la firewall, une couple de lumière de rue. Sur ma propriété, mon sourd, c'est moi-même que je paye pour. C'est moi qui a fait vider que je paye pour. Mon puits, j'ai payé pour faire mon puits. C'est moi qui soigne ma pompe, qui paye ma pompe. En tout cas, la municipalité, d'être sur mon terrain, appartient à rien. La question est, c'est pourquoi que la municipalité, le gouvernement, ils pensent qu'ils appartiennent à ma propriété. Ma recommandation est que ce genre de point de paix. Merci.
Yeah.
Mike Kershaw. 4196 Highway 539. The people underwater. That's us. How come we're not talking about the trailer license bylaw? Can we hear what this is about, what it is?
I mean, I understand the septic part. I've never heard a complaint about that. People should be doing what they do and do it properly.
At the moment, sir, there is no trailer licensing bylaw.
Yes, ma'am. I clearly heard it. It's on tape as well. I went
Here.
back, reviewed the tape. There was a gentleman that said right to the mayor, we have the trailer license bylaw and it's ready to go. Curious on what it
There
is.
was a trailer licensing bylaw brought to council last year for conversation.
That was.
It was not adopted. There was discussion about putting it in abeyance, finishing this process. But at this moment, there is no trailer licensing bylaw in force or on council's radar for consideration at this time.
So when this goes through by the end of the summer, how do you license it? How are you managing whose trailers, what, where?
That is the second part of the conversation. Council didn't want to muddy the waters by dealing with two things because then it will get confused. The intention, because the zoning bylaw has a fixed timeline in which it has to be completed. We would like to complete the zoning bylaw. If council wishes to revisit the licensing bylaw as a standalone bylaw or complementary bylaw to the zoning, to the zoning bylaw, they can bring that back to the table anytime.
So do we get to say anything about what kind of stuff you're gonna put against us? If that makes sense? I don't know if that makes sense.
All council bylaws, all council legislation are public. All meetings are held in public. So if council discuss something like that, you keep your eyes on the agenda, you will see if they're going to be discussing it, and you have the opportunity to speak to the board councillor or to the mayor or any councillor for that matter, if you have concerns.
Okay.
But right now, there's nothing in place.
Right? That's what I wanted to know, really.
Thank you, sir. Oui, monsieur? Step on up.
How are we doing today?
Good.
My name is Byron. I live at 12421 Highway 64. One of my questions is, you've sat there and said in this new proposal that we're only allowed to use our trailers at certain times of the year. Okay, I'm not a wealthy man. I'm not nothing. I spent all my money buying my property, investing everything I own into it. For you at this municipality to tell me that I cannot use my property for 6 months of the year. If I'm getting that correct, is that what I'm getting correct or?
The provisions are, the provisions are to prevent permanent occupancy.
And what would that matter? The permanent occupancy, if I have a trailer on my property that I bought and paid for, I pay taxes all year long to use that trailer and I use that property. What I'm not understanding is why can't I occupy my property and live in a trailer, a tent, a cardboard box? Why can I not my property for what I see fit? I understand there is safety concerns. There is no more different safety concern living in a home than living in a trailer or living in a cardboard box. So that is my question. I'm not out there and I'm not dumping stuff into the toilets. I have proper everything. I have proper sewage. I have proper this. I have proper that. Everything. Waste, everything is proper. I've gone through all the channels of getting permits for my hydro, everything. And now I'm being told that I can't use my property. Why?
So,
Communist.
I was thinking the same thing, but anyhow.
So we're not going to debate the issues. We're here to hear. So we've heard loud and clear that you're opposed to the timelines that they've set. So this has been noted.
Okay. So my thing to say to correct this problem, let people use their property for what they want to use it for.
Issues up.
Well, driving 200 Main Street, Stern Falls.
Yeah.
Okay, we've already spoken to some items here pertaining to the trailers. It was suggested 18 meters. That is now put on the bylaw limits. And I'd like to point out that in 2019, council of that made some changes with effect to that. They decided that 50 meters is sufficient. So that's about 6 years back, 5 years back, and that means that the people that abided to that now have to, they're now will not be able, will have to move back to 18 if this is accepted as such, which I don't agree. I think we should keep it at 50. Back to the recommended dates from council, the closure from November 30th to April 15th. I disagree. Quite honestly, winter months have many recreational activities such as snowmobiling, ice fishing, skiing, and so on and so forth. We can go there with the family in the weekends during the winter months, which is, it's like, there's never anything to do but do that on our own piece of property. So I wanted to have access to year round on my property for those reasons. The use of the trailers could only be temporary for the winter months, but not permanent. We know that, but nevertheless, like the last gentleman said, what are we gonna do with them? Kick them out? I don't. So all the environmental issues will obviously everybody care about. No, we deeply care of what happens and how it happens. We're gonna abide to it because the Ministry of Natural Resources or the Ministry of Environment have a list of guidelines that should be followed. Now, in the last meeting, there was an item put on the amendments with respect to how you should place your trailer behind of the home or whatever dwelling you have. And there was questions about that in our private public meeting. And they're wondering, and I'm wondering, like council had decided that there'd be 3 items: the environment, setback, time frame. But if the other item is accepted, then we can have 4 items. So I would prefer that item not be put on there. I don't know what number it is for.
That was for the side yard setbacks?
Yeah, well,
Storage.
Storage.
yeah. So, because I had some gentleman come to me, 100 acres and live in the middle of it. And if I have to put my trailers in the back, it doesn't make any sense if he lives in the middle of his property. Well, I wanted just to read you something. This year I picked it up from the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedom. You have a right to use, enjoy your property peacefully. You may lend, rent, sell, give, or do whatever you wish on your property within the limits of the law. So that last 3 words just washes that right. Take that. Enough of these laws. Let us live our life. We need control. We need control of some kind. We're not going to. Let us have fairness when we do that. Let's include all the people. Let's get all involved. Come to an agreement, justify them for everyone. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to come up to the podium?
Just use it.
Oh, you're coming back?
Okay.
Yep.
I've noted you for your hands.
Going on the Sturgeon River. The big ass pontoon boat. I go from field as far as I can up to River Valley. I also on a regular basis go all the way down to the dam. I know every property. I know every trailer. I've watched, I don't know how many properties being built up and purchased and on the river over the years. I've been there a while. 8, 9 years. I've been watching the river grow with campers and camping and, you know, kids and all kinds of stuff. But there's one thing I never, ever see on that river. Is junk, garbage, properties that look like they were not properly maintained. There was one property years back was not in very nice shape. Wasn't garbage, like human garbage, just, you know, trees down, didn't look nice and tidy. Something happened there. I don't know the people anymore, but the property either changed hands or whoever was camping there is not there. There's new trailers. The property is cleaned up. It looks awesome. And I mean, I travel a lot on the river. I have 2 seaters. I'm up and down the river step. Pontoon boat. I see people's properties. I see what people are hiding. I know all the properties because that's what I love to do. Is just float on the river. It's that simple. But I just wanted to point out that the people that I see on the river and the properties I see on the river, as far as you guys saying about human waste and on, way off. You're way off. The people that are on the river, I don't know how many of you are on it. I gotta say, hats off, man. We look good. We look damn good. No, we got a war going on at night with solar lights. We're winning, by the way. Because we got about the most. But anyway, I just want to say that. So if we want to.
Attends un instant, la madame est la première.
Bonsoir, j'habite 202 Shoreline Road, Crystal Falls. Danielle Sturgeon aussi. My major concern really is that the limitation of use of the camper trailers on your property. When we were at the meeting in Field last week, a lot of people mentioned that they use their trailers in the wintertime. They go skidooing, they go ice fishing, they go. It's been a way of life for the people here. But we also have in our area trailers that are being used as homes because the economic conditions haven't been quite that great. The housing issue, as we all know, is very limited in this area. And I worked healthcare all my life. I did 50 years as a nurse in Sturgeon here at the old hospital and that thing. And I know how the anguish of people that are struggling to get the ends to be at the end of the month. So, and we have people in our area, in my area that I know of, that live in their trailer 12 months of the year. So where I'm concerned, I look at the rents here in the area, and for 2,000, 2,500, you don't get a castle. So the rents are very expensive, and economically, some people can't pay for that. We don't have rent geared to income, not an excessive amount of it available to our people in our community. And I know that the people that I see have little kids that go to school, that live in their trailers year round. What are we going to do with these families when they can't stay in their trailers from November 30th to April 15th? Are we just throwing them out in the snowbank and
Free.
well, especially this winter? Like I say, I spent my life working to help people out in their time of need, and I don't want to see any families that are struggling to wind up. We already have a homeless problem here in the area. We know about that. No More Tears is very active, so we don't need any more of that. So I'm hoping that before you make drastic decisions like those, this situation, that you're going to have time to have things in place to make sure we don't run into major crisis in this area. So that.
On what he said, my name's Pierre Legault, 11 Lake Muscatine Road. In February, 100,000 people lost their jobs. Bunch of manufacturers are shutting down. This year is going to be the greatest collapse of mortgages we've ever seen. So what I'm going to ask you is, when you write your laws about travel trailer, don't forget my kids if they require a shelter. It won't be recreational. It'll be a shelter if I have to put a trailer on my property. And I think you would all do the same for yours. So when you write that law, don't make it so we can't shelter our own children in the event it goes bad for them. Because the likelihood of that is pretty positive. Thank you.
Smith, you.
I'm René Morvan, and I live in Sturgeon on the Upper Sturgeon River. I want to thank Madame Savage. If it wouldn't be for her, I would not even know that this was here tonight. So I want to thank you. And there seems to be too many gray areas in the planning process. So, for example, we read and hear 1 or 2 trailers per private property. You happen to have 2, 3 in, and you want to come and spend a month here with us. These rules are too tough south to you, so they come up north. So what is the exact number that is being proposed under this planning? And also 2 weeks, that there, like after the fact, it's too late. Yeah.
Those 2 provisions were removed.
Hey,
Those 2 provisions, the limited number and the accessory trailers, council chose to remove those from this draft.
they were removed.
They were.
Okay, thank you very much. My yard. Oh. I heard, you can hear 1 boat per property. Is that 1 boat in the water or on the land or what is it?
So that's speaking about the storage of your boat and trailer. So if you are a R1 to an R4.
R1 is a residential town?
Right, you would
Okay.
be allowed to have 3 recreational outside. That doesn't include your boat or your water, no. And there is, if you're in a rural property, there is no limit.
Okay,
That's being proposed.
thank you very much.
The first thing that I want to bring to attention as far as concerned has to do with the grandfather. After listening to council meeting and the information that was shared by planning staff regarding grandfathering campers, it was identified that that could not be done because campers were a structure that are movable. They don't qualify for grandfathering under the Ontario Building Code. As Yvonne Jahan mentioned, we had a meeting in Field. And there were residents that came forward and said that within their respective municipalities, that they had a policy that would grandfather trailers, not just under the building code, but under the Planning Act for recreational use of land and structures. So I'm bringing this as a concern and would hope clarity on this matter and look at having a policy to grandfather the current structures that would be within the setback identified at 15 meters. The other issue, it's going to be repetitive. My comment pertaining to the restriction of campers during the winter months, that ban should be removed. It should be modified. It should be amended to allow recreational use during the winter months and to the pleasure of those that do own the property and to be able to benefit for use with their family. There's also the issue that I've been hearing pertaining to having a camper trailer being used year round as a permanent dwelling. Well, then there should be a component in regards to the community well-being fee. In that section, there was a study identifying exactly homelessness issue in West Nipissing and how it would critically escalate within our municipality. So far, there's been no discussion on that matter. So the matter of restricting usage of a trailer as a permanent dwelling should be removed from the zoning bylaw until council can address the issue and discuss the matter pertaining to community well-being and safety plan and look at an action plan for homelessness. Please. No human being should be asked to live on the street, is to have a shelter as a tent, and be exposed to the risks and to the risk of their livelihood. I'm also going to bring up the issue pertaining to home-based business and in regards to the presentation. The only exception was the daycare where you're allowed to have 3 customers. While in West Nipissing, we do have individuals that operate our home-based business in the structured dwelling located on their property. And it would be an example of a home gym. They more than often have more than 3 patrons at a time. So the exception rule should be amended to reflect what we have in our backyard and not to create any undue hardship to them to be able to continue to have the enjoyment of an income. Thank you.
Okay, I want to echo everything that's been said before. I agree with your
Name and address, please.
M'excuse.
Right.
Marc Saint-Jules, 1753 Highway 575 in Field. So I want to echo everything that's been said. I don't want to repeat it. The only thing I'll say about the winter use is the alternative sometimes might be homelessness. Think about that. Now, my question is regarding the setback. It says permanent trailer. So if a trailer's there for 2-3 days, please correct me, does the setback apply or not apply?
I would say it would not.
It would not.
You're bringing it
So
up
it's
there for the week.
permanent trailer. So a permanent trailer is the one that's lifted up on blocks. So one that's attached to my truck.
I'll let staff actually address that
Thank
more
you.
specifically. I think the issue is that, when dealing with planning, travel trailers are meant as a temporary use, so trying to regulate this becomes an issue. So if you're bringing a trailer into your property for the weekend or for a week for recreational use, as opposed to putting your trailer down and it never moves. So I think that's the issue that staff deal with on a regular basis, and we're trying to provide solutions to that.
Okay.
I'm confused.
So never moves. I have 5 acres and often have 4 trailers there. I don't rent it out, strictly family. I don't charge a dime. It's my brother-in-law, my other brother-in-law, they come down. They can park within less than 18 meters from the river. And if they stay there for 2-3 weeks, it's not permanent. They can hitch up anytime and they can pull out. So that would not be contravening to the bylaw, correct?
It's written, you're correct.
Okay. Thank you. That's it. All right.
Rumbo.
Mark Saint-Just, 1753 Highway 570. At this time, there is no limit in the bylaw for the number of trailers. However, it is a possibility, yes or no, that it may be included later and may be included in the August one, because I want to be on my toes, because trust me, I'll be here.
So the next step in this process is the project team will be taking all the comments we've received in writing and here today, preparing an engagement summary to present to council that says, here were the comments that we heard, this is what we received. Based on that, here are some recommendations on how we could amend it and go to our next version, which would be version 3, and bring that forward with the public input in mind. There may be changes to the regulations, but after that, we will have that public meeting that's happening at the end of June. So if there are changes in the meantime, that will be the next opportunity for anyone to provide their comments on the next version.
Let's be on our toes, because it might come back.
And sorry, if I just will say, Ryan said it earlier as well, but if you want to receive an email when we put out that notice saying what that date's gonna be, where it's gonna be, to sign in, put your name and your email address on the form there. Otherwise, you can visit the project website and subscribe for updates, and you'll get an email when we schedule that meeting.
Okay. West Nipissing is a bit different because there's a large river here. There's Bev, I think, I'm not sure if it's in West Nipissing, but anyway, there's Sturgeon. It's quite unique. We shouldn't apply stuff that goes down south to this area.
Right.
That's one thing. The other thing is, if you put forward a reasonable bylaw that has some logic to it, such as government and whatnot, you will have buy-in from people. If you try and impose something that is not reasonable, and you try and impose something that should apply down south, here, you won't have buy-in. It will cost a lot of money to enforce. It will cost a lot of money to try and enforce something that does not make sense. You want buy-in from the community? Listen to us, please. Merci. Thank you.
Name is Gaston Rayon, 16 Gruyere Street in Chelmsford. Got a piece of property on the Sturgeon River. And I'm just wondering, why would I be stopped from using my property any time of the year? When I buy a fishing license, I buy a hunting license, and hunting lasts December and fishing year round. Why would I be stopped from using my properties for these two activities that I love? Thank you.
I am Carl Seri from 85 St. Louis River Valley. A lot has been said about setbacks and front yard, backyard, side yards and all that, and what defines a front yard? My property, I got 31 acres on the Maumee River. My front yard is on the river. I enter my yard from the back. So if I need to park trailers or sea cans or whatever, people's gonna see it from the road anyway. So.
So where you have a property that fronts onto the water, your front yard is correct between the house and the water. So if you, when it comes to sea cans or the trailer regulations as they're proposed, that would need to be further from the water than that front wall of your house. If you're on a property that doesn't have any water frontage, then your front yard is what's gets the road, and same would apply that your trailer or CCAM would need to be further from the road than your front
Yeah,
wall.
so correct. So my C-can and my trailer is gonna be parked in my backyard, and that's gonna be seen from the road, from the entrance. So there's no sense there for me for putting it, for saying, you need to park in the backyard. 1.5 maybe fine. If you have,
So I'll jump in here a little bit, but generally a setback from your waterfront is to protect the water. I understand what you're saying.
with the water.
Yeah, let me finish. So what you're saying is the impact of allowing them in your rear yard because it's on the lakefront is more, the bigger impact than being allowed on the lake.
Correct.
So understood.
So something could be done there for the 1.5 there, which it's could be revised or something.
So do you have a you think that should be increased then? Or if you have water frontage and road frontage, you think?
I got both. And I enter my property from the back.
Yeah.
So I just don't want around when this is all done, then they're gonna say that, well, okay, well, your C-can or your trailer needs. My backyard is really the front yard of the big. So I just want to know, it's okay if it's there.
Your back road side,
That's right.
yes.
Yes.
No, we understand that. What he's saying though is he would rather people not see it. So, but
No, I
Right.
don't mind people seeing it. I just don't want the bylaw officer to come on to my place and say, hey, I want to define the front yard and the backyard, because usually the front yard is on the roadway and my front yard is at the river. But you defined it. You said that it's all the,
And it is within the bylaw. You do have that defined. Yeah.
okay, good.
Thank you. Yes, sir. No problem. No problem.
Ray Woodsey, 176 Doverport. I don't have any real skin in this game. I'm just listening. And the one thing that really came to heart to me was gentleman potentially losing his house because he can't stay there November 30th, April 15th. And I get the logic of it being a safety issue. We want to make sure that people are living in a safe environment and in a safe building or a trailer. But what I don't understand is how the council wants to impose some sort of bylaw when the people that are living there are living in accommodations that are designed by professionals. They're designed by people who manage wastewater, who manage water management, who manage heat. So these trailers come equipped with all everything that we have in our house, and they're built under employment standards, quality standards, and everything else. And I'm going, there's a disconnect for me in that we're trying to make people not stay in an accommodation that has been certified by the Ontario government, by the fire marshals, by the Canadian government. They're saying that these are okay. These are buildings that people can stay in year round. And yet we have November 30th to April 15th mandate saying we don't want them to be staying in those buildings, even though they're approved. So my suggestion is that these buildings, if they're going to be stayed in between November 30th and April 15th, which are the winter months, maybe we need to amend to just say they have to be safe and they have to be according to code. And if a trailer is built by a reputable company and is built according to code, we shouldn't have to have this November 30th, April 15th date.
Chief does have a problem for you. So just to clarify a little bit on this, fire marshal doesn't approve trailers as such, other than the fact that ESA approves the heating system, which is usually propane. Most of these trailers that are being used in the wintertime are using wood stoves illegally installed. The other part The other part is smoke alarms and carbon dioxide alarms do apply to trailers, whether it's summer, winter, doesn't matter. The trailers, 90% of them are not properly insulated for winter use, hence why people are installing illegal wood stoves without proper clearances, without proper inspections. So it creates a risk on that side of it. The holding tanks that you mentioned, yes, they are equipped with holding tanks, but that is a limited amount of product that those tanks can hold. So if, as was mentioned, proper waste disposal systems, then from what I've understood in our conversations tonight, that would be acceptable as far as the waste management part of it.
I completely agree with what, we're aligned on
a
few of the things that you've said, but
Yeah.
what I'm not getting is that if somebody has a trailer that is up to code, has carbon monoxide alarms, and is not, let's just take away the part where people are building illegal or not up to code buildings, and that's a risk.
Yeah.
I agree that we need to address that issue. What I'm trying to understand, and I'm not getting, is that we have a gentleman who has a trailer that meets code, is on his own property, and we want to put a bylaw together that says he can't live there November 30th to April 15th.
And this is where this
So
consultation is the purpose for this consultation is for the committee to go back and, okay, do we remove this seasonal? Is it something that we change, correct, whatever the case is?
My recommendation is that you need to update or amend the language if you're going to keep it so that it has to do with a building that's up to code versus one that's not up to code.
So again, the trailers are up to the transportation industry codes, ESA codes for the heating systems that are provided, the electrical systems that are provided they are not modified.
Yeah, it's all about being up to code, right?
Exactly.
So that's my comment. I just could, there's a disconnect with me on that issue.
Yeah. Thank you. Can I add something, just a minute? Just to get around all these regulations about residential in the event of homelessness and somebody needs to use a travel trailer in the residential setting. Maybe you could add the clause emergency use. Because residential takes time. It takes time to bring it up to code, to be reasonable. So if you have an emergency use clause, in case a member of the family needs some shelter, that would be a good addition. Sure. May I just ask a question? So what would be a recommendation on permitted use in event of an emergency if we were to put something like that in?
What if your grandkids need shelter?
I understand that. So are we looking at here? Are we looking at?
I don't know. Like it would have to be less strict than a house because it's a travel trailer. But it has to be reasonable. You have to consider that it's a shelter. It's all for a homeless person at this point.
Yeah.
So it's an emergency. It's not so to bring it up to residential, you'd have to have a different look at it.
Okay, thank you.
Like I understand smoke alarms, air exchanger, my last trailer had all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'll take that.
Living at all cannot be having. It's about the small business and what you say or that what I can do and can't do and how much space I can use in my big house and I live alone. Or you're telling me that even if I could provide good working area for employees, I can actually only have one other than me. That's what you're saying? But if I have the space.
That provision is actually already in the bylaw as we speak.
It wasn't at 3 and brought down to 2.
Right, 1 second.
It was 3 and 1 had to live in a residence. Now it's been brought down to 2, but that one of them people have to live in a residence.
Sorry, I have a lot of different versions going on over here. In the current zoning regulations, a home occupation, which is if it's done in the house, is only allowed to have one employee other than yourself. In a home industry, which would be something that's done in an accessory structure, is allowed you plus 2 other employees. So that's what the current policy is. So that's not much of a change there. We do currently have restrictions on how many employees you can have.
Okay, what's my other question? And if I have enough parking space for my customer? Yes, and at that point yet, but I do have parking space. What limits me to 3 customers? What if I decide to have like a Tupperware party, but it's I'm hosting what I'm selling. And everybody's been to a Tupperware party. And when back in the day, right, mom invited 20, 30 people in the house and it wasn't a problem. But this is how people made their sales. If I decide to do something like this and gift my host for hosting a party, you're limiting everything. Like my small business with my retirement plan, but now it seems to be moving. Now I have to pay to be somewhere else to do all my work if I need help or if I want customers. Or have you seen the price of rent around here? Have you seen the price of commercial rent? As a small business owner, not very many of us can afford this. But if I have the parking, why am I limited to not more than 3 customers? I insure my house, my car, my property, everything. And then I insure my business. To make sure that everybody's safe. I'm being proactive. But I'm being limited to how many people I can have come to my place at one time. And I'm still building, but way back in 2017, for a while, I had a constant flow coming in and out. Shut down, I reopened. Am I getting grandfathered because I opened before this bylaw came in? We're hurting new communities. Now I want to come back to, and I don't own a camper. I do not own a camper, but I have friends that do. And they're if they are in a domestic dispute or in danger. And I want to tell them, you know what, back that sucker back into my yard and live there until you can find a safe place to stay. Because the women's shelter is full. You're telling me I can't do that? I can't help her? Think about it. Not only do we have homeless, but you get the abused, or you get. Where do I tell her to go? Oh, I'm sorry, I can't help you. I'm not allowed. Because it's November 30th, you just. T'as mangé une claque, ça te boulette. Just wait or keep it up. Suck it up. I hope none of you ever have to be faced with that situation. Yes.
Anyone else interested? Sir?
You already have my address. We've sent the cardboard box there, yeah. Anyway, my question is all these trailers, back to the trailer thing, if all these trailers are like the problem and everything, how does this work for trailer parks? Say like Glen Rock and all that, like mobile homes, trailer parks. There's one out on, what do you call it? How does that work for them?
Well, trailer parks like Glen Rock, Panorama, whatever, they all have and are held to very stringent. They have to bring in their water once a week to be tested. They have to have Ministry of the Environment septic systems installed. They are by their zoning because they are zoned tourist commercial, which permits that use on those properties.
So what about the like mobile home, is that same
There's
idea?
also a zone. We have a mobile home zone. So the one up on Goulard and the
Yeah.
one over on, they are zoned for mobile home.
Okay, understandable. That's all. I was wondering, I'm simple, so I just figured I'd ask. Thank you.
Anyone else? I don't.
I'll go. Not, no, it's okay. My name is Greg. I live at 37 Tamarack. Feel interesting standing up here, but that's okay. So the last, how old am I? 37, the last 27 years or so, I've been super dedicated to making a difference, to inspiring others. And that's why I created it. For the longest time, I thought I'm never going to own a business. And I said, screw it, diving full in. I decided to start a business because I love fitness. And I've been making a difference in people's lives for, well, 14 years at a certain location. Just recently moved. And it was tough. I had to get my mom to help me with that new mortgage to get it going. That's a pill to take when you're 38. You don't want to do that, but you do it because I had a choice. I said either I move the business out of the commercial space, which was tough, or I close the business and impact every single person that came to me. Every single one. Because now what do they do? What do they do? What does their path look like? I don't know. That would suck. So I had to make that choice at that time. Now, thing to me about home business isn't, it shouldn't be capacity. It should be safety and current bylaws. So if I can operate a business safely and there's parking, no issues, I purposely chose the house I chose because it had a roundabout parking lot. And that's just why that was my reason for choosing it, because I thought in my mind, I want to make it safe for people, safe for my people to come in, safe people driving on the street to come by. And if I have one or two on the street, at least it's not going to create a hazard like some other areas of town are currently having, you know, down by the Demers area, but that's a whole other topic. So those things to me, everything mattered in terms of what my members will get out of it. And that's what I'm hearing all the time. What are we going to do if we can't live in a certain home? Where do we go? Right? Where do I go if I don't have my business? I don't know. I've been making a difference for so long, so many people's lives. I have to give it up, and it's depressing to even think about that, to think that I wouldn't be able to give an impact in the same way. Because in the commercial space, the cost of it, it was like scraping by. It really was. It was. I live alone. I don't have any kids, which if I did, it would have been way different, much more difficult probably. But honestly, my biggest thing was impact. How do I make an impact? How do I continue to make an impact in a way that's safe within a community? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Or just another clarification, the number of trailers that have been removed. You were saying in residential, the number of trailers allowed to live in, not to live, but to camp in, whatever, it has been removed. You mentioned, but is there a time frame? Let's say my daughter wants to come for a month in my yard. Is there a time frame?
That has also been removed.
No. Okay. Thank you.
Apart from the November to April, but we have removed that 14.
Not in the winter.
Correct, it's not allowed in the winter, but the first version that had that 14-day limit for kind of a temporary use, that's been removed.
That's been removed also. Thank you very much.
I just have a question here, and forgive me, is there anything in the bylaws that are being presented with respect to sea cans?
There is a
I'm
section.
sorry, I didn't read.
That's okay. There is a section on sea cans. It's under metal containers. There is a copy. I think someone can hold it up if they're the lucky ones. There is also a copy on the website of this.
So
yeah.
I'll have to read it. What I have to say is that at my camping trailer, took it upon myself to put a sea can for storage in the winter, put my four-wheelers and my furniture inside. But in the summer, sea can. It's stable. And it's stable to the ground. Yeah. Okay, so that if there's strong winds, even in the forest area, I feel safer in there than I would in my trailer. So, man, I use it as a safe shelter, give the word. Warning is, you can put that in your pot. Automate that with anyone. With the weather change, weather was, we experienced a bad wind, it actually went right through field. Thank you. I'm sorry. Unfortunately, some people passed away. And the person that died was in the trailer. Lifted off and he died. So, frame of thought, this is what I said. I said, I have a trailer, it's not safe. I have to run 50 yards away, then we can button down. And doesn't matter if a tree falls in the sea can, it will stand and fall. I just, it's a safety. I just wanted to put that in there. That's different. I don't do many things that are not safe other than sea can. And I use it as such. Thank you.
Good evening, Lino Book One, 409 Royd, Surgeon. Just want to address my concern about the small home business. It's something that should be taken seriously before making any direct move on it. If you're aware of what's been going on for the last, in the news for the last 2 days, the overall small business in Canada has been closed and reduced to by 35%. We're talking over a third of the small business closing. And the other extreme is the average age for small business, 40 years old plus. I think it would be a big mistake trying to close small business in Sturgeon Falls. Limited with the big size business, we should at least give some more thought before making a bylaw. Thank you for hearing.
Just a comment. Last week, my son spent the day feeding the homeless in Sudbury and Tent City. He saw people wrapped in a tarp sleeping on the ground at this time of the year. I guarantee you an old travel trailer is a better option than a tarp sleeping on the ground.
Hi, Dave Lewington, Highway 64 in Living. I think you've had a lot of good questions here, and not to repeat them, but the suggestion that would answer most of them is don't make any new bylaw or zoning change that will make it harder for people to make a living or harder to enjoy their property. If you keep that in mind, it will fix a lot of the issues that have already been brought up. So one of the issues that hasn't been brought up is some of the proposed ag zoning changes around the, I forget the category, diversified uses and secondary uses. I'm not sure if folks realize that when you read that, you're prohibiting something like a corn maze. Because if that's a secondary use on an average farm, a corn maze of any size is probably going to be at least a hectare, and you've got nowhere left to park people. So right away, you're already prohibiting things that are already going on here. And then once again, making it harder to make a living. So I think we need to keep those things in mind when we're looking at how we phrase those things. And we need to remember that not everybody lives in the same way that we do and operates a business exactly the same as we do.
So we need to keep things open and we need to keep flexibility so that people who behave different without bothering their neighbors can prosper. The other ag zoning issue that I wanted to bring up and speak against is removing abattoirs from an accepted use on farms. For anyone that's not aware, it's really difficult to get animals booked into an abattoir now to have them slaughtered according to all the rules. And we have to book a year in advance. That makes things very difficult. And we would love to see a neighboring farm put up an abattoir so we could patronize them. But we've been looking at in the long term building one because that's a very difficult project. We're just not ready to do it yet. So when I read these changes, all of a sudden it sends the message, and I understand how all the other people feel when you take away the right to use their trailer in the future. You take away the right to have a home business in the future. Take away the opportunity to build an abattoir. So we need to make sure that the suggestion is don't take away opportunities from people. And if you're going to put something like that in as a proposed change, you need a line justifying it so people know why. So why can't an abattoir be on a farm? Why can't you live in your trailer on November 16th when it be November 15th? That, I think going through that exercise would help council and staff to avoid a lot of the negative feedback that often gets scattered this way.
Where could we go on?
Lucy Poolite, 1762nd Highway 575, but live in Dowling. So we came all the way here tonight from Dowling to present. So most of the things that were said is, the main concern for us is November to April. Biggest thing, we are avid snowmobilers, we do fishing. The hunting season for grouse is till December 30th. And we can't use our trailer during a weekend to be able to come and do these things in this lovely West Nipissing area. The other thing, a lot are going to be repeated, I'd like to know the difference from 15 meters to 18 meters. What does 3 meters make the difference for? You know, when you actually measure it. So anyways, the other thing I'm going to say, we're here most of the summer. We help your economy. We shop in Field. We shop in Sturgeon. We buy our gas in Sturgeon. You know, we help your economy. The ones that come here during the summertime. I bought the land where I'm at because I don't want to be in a campsite where I'm going to hear the neighbor's wife yell after the old man. That's none of my business. We have approximately 2 acres where we are. We have trees that separate all our lands. And if we want our neighbors to come, we invite them. But if we don't invite them. I don't want to be on a campsite where it's like one after the other. This is the main reason my husband and I bought a property here in the beautiful area of West Nipissing. And you guys, the way this is planned, are taking that away from us. And I'm really heartbroken about this. I hope you reconsider a lot of the planning that you guys are trying to introduce here. I'll agree with the man that you can't put the southern bylaws in a small rural area like Field and Sturgeon and West Nipissing. They don't work here. They just don't work here. Thank you very much.
Not a comment, but a question pertaining to the process. I see there's a lot of people here tonight, can I see this wrong? And most of the people that are here is regarding campers. You want to get the comments from each and every individual. And you expect by receiving such a high volume of comments, will that make a difference in the report that you're going to be providing to council on your recommendation to keep or remove? I'd just like to know what the process is going to be. And if you want to get the comments of everyone here before they do leave, if that's going to have an impact on the decision moving forward.
I will just say that all comments were actually mentioned by one of the counselors that they would like to see them. So all comments will go to council. I think that's important. We will summarize all the comments. Ultimately, the decision on this is council. So just so you know, the people sitting here are not the decision makers. Going to relay.
So it may not be that wants to go up to the podium. They may want to go and see you and provide you their comments. And I just want to make sure that they do have the time, that they don't walk out of here without expressing their concern and their suggestion.
Great. And on that note, that was going to be what I was going to suggest. So thank you for bringing that forward.
Can I just make a nice little quick comment?
Sure, go ahead.
The planning team, when you write something down on the plan, just keep in mind, joie de vivre.
This lady said we could put out our email so that we get the, okay, on what do we put it?
Eric, there's also, if you can kind of see leaning against the, there is a QR code. If you want to scan that, it would bring you to the project website. And on that, you can scroll down and there will be somewhere that you, right.
Can I go here and write it?
So on that note, again, we do have some time. Our planner is here. We have our municipal clerk. We have us as staff. You know, there are some counselors in the audience as well. If you have any questions or want to discuss anything specifically, we have Planscape, our consultants, who are really subject matter experts on zoning bylaws. Please feel free to approach us.
Just
Sorry, Madam Mayor.
start and have a conversation with council, that will not be written down and submitted as comments. So if you want your thoughts formally submitted, we can go through the planning and the staff will be around to chat, but we're not taking notes and submitting those. So that's the job of staff. I just want to be clear that if you come and say something to me, it won't necessarily make it to the report, in the same with all the members of council that are here. I'll just take one opportunity and introduce Councillor Chris Rivard, Councillor Caitlin Nickel, Councillor Roxanne Lee, Councillor Jamie Restool, and from Gunneray COC. Oh, and Rolly Larrabee, and Fern Petro. Okay, yes, Fern was here, but he may not be still, but there's us around.
So anyway, feel free to approach us and ask any questions you like, and we'll try and answer.
I have one
Again,
question.
if you're looking to make a comment, make sure that you're doing it the formal way, that you know, the comment box, if you want to the website,